The time my parents told me not to touch the thermostat. A few years back, my parents asked me to watch their house while they went to Florida for a week. My stepdad Greg is pretty chill most of the time, but he gets weird about specific things. The thermostat was one of them. They'd been fighting about it for months because my grandma Joan was living with them, and she wanted it at like 78 degrees while my mom liked it at 68, and Greg wanted it at 72. It was this whole ongoing drama. So when they were loading up the car to leave, Greg pulls me aside and goes, "Hey, listen, do not touch the thermostat. I've got it programmed exactly how it needs to be." I was like, "Okay, but what if it gets too hot or too cold in there?" He just shook his head. "Nope, don't touch it. It's fine. Just leave it alone." My mom nodded along like, "Yeah, that's reasonable. Cool. Message received." They live in Georgia, so it was late October and still pretty warm. A sea was running every day. I moved into their guest room and everything was normal for the first 2 days. I fed their cat Boots, watered the plants, watched their giant TV, standard house-sitting stuff. Then on day 3, the weather app said a cold front was coming through. Nothing insane, but it was gonna drop from the 70s down to the 40s at night. I was like, okay, that's fine. The house will probably be fine. When I woke up on day 4, it was 65 degrees outside and the AC was still blasting cold air into the house. I could literally see my breath a little bit when I walked into the kitchen. I stood there staring at the thermostat on the wall. It was set to 68 degrees, but the house was definitely colder than that. The AC unit was still running because the thermostat thought it needed to cool the house down more. But here's the thing. Greg said don't touch it. He was super clear about that, so I didn't. Instead, I grabbed a hoodie from my bag, made some coffee, went about my day. By that evening, it was 42 degrees outside, and the house felt like a freezer. I put on sweatpants and thick socks, added a blanket to the couch while I watched TV. Boots the cat was hiding under the couch, which honestly should have been my sign that things were getting bad. Day 5 rolls around and it's even colder outside. Now I'm wearing 2 hoodies and I've got 3 blankets piled on top of me. I checked the thermostat and it read 56 degrees inside the house. The AC was still running, trying to bring it down to 68. I texted my buddy Justin a picture of me in my blanket cocoon and he was like, "Dude, why don't you just turn the heat on?" I sent back, "Can't. Strict orders." I raided their linen closet and found 2 more heavy blankets and a comforter. Built myself a legitimate nest on their couch. I was actually kind of cozy once I got the setup right. Boots eventually joined me because I was the only warm spot in the house. I had to keep getting up to refill his water bowl because it was so cold the edges were starting to ice over a little bit. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration, but it was cold as hell. Day 6. The temperature outside hit 38 degrees at night. I woke up and the thermostat said 50 degrees. 50. The AC had finally stopped running because even it couldn't make the house colder than the outside air. I made oatmeal for breakfast because it was the only warm thing I could think of. Took a long, hot shower just to feel my fingers again. Put on every piece of warm clothing I'd packed, plus some of Greg's old flannels I found in the closet. My mom texted me that afternoon asking how everything was going. I said, "Great. House is fine. Boots is good. See you tomorrow." She sent back a thumbs up. I almost felt bad. Almost. They got home around noon on day 7. I heard their car pull up and watched from the window as they grabbed their suitcases. The second Greg opened the front door, his face did this thing where his eyes got huge and his mouth dropped open. My mom walked in behind him and literally gasped. "Oh my God, it's freezing in here." "What happened? Is the heat broken?" I was sitting on the couch in my blanket pile wearing 2 hoodies, a beanie, and Greg's flannel. I looked up at them all casually. "I don't know. You told me not to touch the thermostat." Greg just stood there staring at the thermostat on the wall. It still read 50 degrees. He walked over and looked at it closer, then turned back to me. "You didn't think to maybe adjust it when it got cold? You specifically told me not to touch it. You said you had it programmed exactly how it needed to be." My mom started laughing, like full-on bent over laughing. Greg ran his hand over his face and walked over to the thermostat and switched it to heat and set it to 72. Within 10 minutes, the heating kicked on. He looked at me and shook his head. "You're ridiculous." "I'm thorough. You gave clear instructions and I followed them." He didn't bring up the thermostat again after that.